Right now, something is happening inside your mind that you have absolutely no control over. Decisions you believe are yours, fears you cannot explain, patterns you keep repeating no matter how hard you try to stop. There is a hidden part of your mind running your entire life, and you have never met it. Over a century ago, a doctor in Vienna pulled back the curtain on the human soul, and what he found terrified the world. Unconscious mind revealed. Sigmund Freud discovered that beneath your rational, civilized surface lies a world of buried desires, forgotten traumas, and primitive drives that shape everything you do. As Freud himself put it, the mind is like an iceberg. It floats with 1/7 of its bulk above water. Today, we are diving beneath the surface. What you are about to discover might change how you understand yourself forever. The hidden self. Imagine standing before a vast, dark ocean. The surface is calm, orderly, predictable. That surface is your conscious mind, the part of you that reasons, plans, and makes decisions. But beneath it lies something immense, something ancient, something that has been shaping your life since the day you were born. Before Freud, Western science believed the mind was entirely rational. Humans were thinking machines driven by logic and reason. But Freud shattered that illusion completely. In the late 1800s, working with patients in Vienna, he began noticing something strange. People were suffering from symptoms with no physical cause, paralyzed limbs with no nerve damage, blindness with perfectly healthy eyes. Their bodies were screaming what their minds refused to say. Something hidden was at work, something powerful enough to hijack the body itself. Freud called it the unconscious, a vast reservoir of thoughts, memories, and desires operating entirely outside of awareness. As he wrote, "The interpretation of dreams is the royal road to a knowledge of the unconscious activities of the mind." With that discovery, a new understanding of the human mind was born. But this was only the beginning of what he would uncover. Vienna's secret. Picture Vienna in the 1890s, the most sophisticated city in Europe, art, music, and culture at their absolute peak. And in a quiet consulting room, a young neurologist is about to make a discovery that will scandalize the entire continent. Freud's patients were mostly women from wealthy Viennese families. On the surface, they had everything, but they were tormented. Anxiety, paralysis, fits of hysteria that no doctor could explain. The medical establishment had no answers. Hidden pain exposed. Freud tried something radical. Instead of examining their bodies, he asked them to talk. Just talk. Say whatever comes to mind, no matter how embarrassing, how shameful, how irrational. And what poured out shocked even him. Memories buried for decades, desires they could never admit, traumas locked away so completely they had forgotten they existed. If Freud's revolutionary discoveries about the human mind are resonating with you right now, hit like and subscribe to keep exploring the depths of human psychology with me. Because what he uncovered next goes even deeper. Beneath the polished surface of civilized life, Freud found a battlefield. A war raging inside every single one of us. And understanding that war changes everything. 3 Self. Here is perhaps Freud's most famous and most misunderstood discovery. You are not one person, you are three. Freud mapped the human psyche into 3 warring forces. First, the ID, your most primitive self, pure desire, pure hunger. It wants pleasure, it wants it now, and it does not care about consequences. Think of every impulse you have ever had to do something reckless, something selfish, something you knew was wrong. That is your ID screaming. Then there is the superego, your inner judge, the voice of every rule your parents taught you, every expectation society placed on you. It demands perfection. It punishes you with guilt and shame. And caught between these 2 titans is your ego, the fragile negotiator desperately trying to keep you sane. Your ego is constantly mediating between raw desire and crushing duty. Every single moment of your life, these 3 forces are at war. When you feel torn between what you want and what you should do, that is not weakness. ID, ego, superego. As Freud explained, the ego is not master in its own house. That is the fundamental architecture of your mind. But what happens when one side wins too often? Repressed truth. Have you ever been overwhelmed by an emotion you could not explain? Sudden anger at a loved one for no reason. Unexplainable anxiety in a perfectly safe situation. A sadness that seems to come from nowhere. Buried memories surface. That is repression at work. Freud discovered that when a thought, a memory, or a desire is too painful for the conscious mind to handle, the psyche does something extraordinary. It buries it, pushes it deep into the unconscious where you cannot see it, cannot touch it, cannot even remember it exists. But here is the terrifying part. What is repressed does not disappear, it only changes form. It comes back as nightmares, as irrational fears, as patterns you keep repeating even though they destroy you. The person who keeps choosing partners who hurt them. The one who sabotages every success right before the finish line. The person who cannot stop a habit they genuinely hate. These are not failures of willpower, they are symptoms of something buried alive. As Freud observed, unexpressed emotions will never die. They are buried alive and will come forth later in uglier ways. The only way to stop the cycle is to dig them up, but most people are far too afraid to look. Dream messages. Every night when you close your eyes, something remarkable happens. Your conscious mind steps aside and the unconscious takes the stage. Dreams decoded truth. Freud called dreams the royal road to the unconscious, and in 1900 he published a book that changed everything. The interpretation of dreams was not just a scientific text, it was a map of the hidden mind. Freud argued that every dream, no matter how bizarre, how terrifying, how absurd, carries a message. Your unconscious is trying to tell you something, but it speaks in symbols, not words. Your dreams are letters from your unconscious mind begging to be read. That recurring dream of falling, that nightmare where you are being chased, that strange dream about a house with rooms you have never seen before. None of it is random. Every image is a coded message from the deepest parts of your psyche. Dreams are the guardians of sleep and not its disturbers. The unconscious disguises its messages because the raw truth would be too disturbing for the waking mind to handle. But what about those moments when the unconscious breaks through while you are wide awake? Freudian slips. You are in an important meeting. You mean to say one thing and something completely different comes out of your mouth. Everyone laughs, you blush, you call it a silly mistake. Wrong. Freud called these parapraxes, and he believed they were anything but accidental. Every slip of the tongue, every forgotten name, every mysteriously misplaced object is your unconscious breaking through the walls of repression. There are no accidents in the human mind, only hidden intentions. Think about it, you forget the name of someone you secretly resent. You accidentally call your new partner by your ex's name. You lose the keys to a place you truly do not want to go. No accidents ever. These are not glitches in your brain, they are windows into your real feelings, the feelings you have buried, denied, and refused to acknowledge for years. Freud showed us that the unconscious is always speaking, always trying to communicate through the cracks in our composure. The only question is whether you are brave enough to listen to what it is really saying. Most people are not. Most people would rather believe in coincidence than confront what lies beneath. And that brings us to where it all truly begins. Childhood scars. Here is the discovery that made Freud the most controversial figure in the history of modern science. Childhood shapes everything. Freud argued that who you are today, your fears, your desires, your deepest patterns, was largely determined before you turned 6 years old. Everything that happened in those early years, the love you received, the pain you endured, the words spoken to you when you were too young to understand, all of it sank into your unconscious and became the invisible blueprint for your entire life. The child is father of the man. Freud took this poetic insight and turned it into clinical science. The parent who was never satisfied taught you that you are never good enough. The caregiver who was unpredictable taught you that love is dangerous. The home that demanded silence taught you that your voice does not matter. And these lessons are running your life right now, decades later. Your childhood did not just shape your past, it programmed your future. You believe you are making free choices, but you are running programs installed before you could even speak. And your mind has built an entire fortress to keep you from ever realizing it. Defense walls. Your mind is a master architect, and its greatest creation is the invisible fortress it built to protect you from yourself. Freud identified a network of defense mechanisms, unconscious strategies your psyche uses to shield you from unbearable truths. Your defenses were built to protect you, but now they imprison you. And they are operating every single day without your knowledge. 1. Denial, refusing to accept what is painfully real. 2. Projection, seeing your own hidden flaws in others. 3. Rationalization, inventing logical excuses for irrational behavior. 4. Displacement, redirecting emotions onto safer targets. 5. Sublimation, channeling dark impulses into creation. These mechanisms are not weaknesses, they are survival tools. When a child faces a trauma too overwhelming to process, the mind does not shatter. It adapts, it builds walls, it creates blind spots. The problem is that these walls do not come down when the danger passes. Walls built for survival. You are still defending yourself against threats that ended decades ago. and those defenses are costing you intimacy, authenticity, and freedom every day. Freud believed that making the unconscious conscious is the essential first step to dismantling those walls. But how do you reach something you cannot see? The talking cure. A woman named Anna O gave psychoanalysis its most famous name. She called it the talking cure. And Freud turned her simple observation into a revolution that would change medicine forever. Words have the power to unlock what silence has imprisoned. Freud developed free association, a technique so simple it seems almost absurd. Lie on a couch, say whatever comes to mind, no filter, no logic, no judgment, just let the words flow wherever they want to go. The conscious mind resists, it wants order, it wants control. But when you stop controlling your thoughts, something extraordinary happens. Being entirely honest with oneself is a good exercise. The unconscious begins to speak. Fragments of forgotten memories rise to the surface. Connections that were completely invisible become painfully obvious. Patterns that have controlled your behavior for decades suddenly reveal themselves in the light. The cure begins when you finally say what you have been afraid to think. That is the true power of psychoanalysis, not someone telling you what is wrong with you, but creating a space safe enough for you to discover it yourself. The truth was always inside you, waiting for permission to surface. And this brings us to the question that matters most of all. Freud's legacy. Sigmund Freud died in 1939. But his discovery of the unconscious mind did not die with him. Immortal. Today, modern neuroscience confirms what Freud intuited over a century ago. Studies show that up to 95% of our brain activity is unconscious. Your decisions, your preferences, your emotional reactions, the vast majority happen before your conscious mind even knows about them. 95%. Think about what that truly means. The life you believe you are consciously choosing is largely being directed by forces completely beneath your awareness. You are not who you think you are, and that is Freud's greatest gift to humanity. Because once you know the unconscious exists, once you accept that hidden forces are shaping your choices, something profoundly powerful happens. You can finally start the work of bringing them into the light. Every time you examine a pattern instead of blindly repeating it, every time you question a reaction instead of justifying it, every time you sit with discomfort instead of running from it, you are doing the sacred work Freud dedicated his entire life to. You are making the unconscious conscious, and that is the beginning of real freedom. Freud showed us that we are strangers to ourselves, that beneath the surface of our rational, ordered minds lies a vast world of hidden desires, buried memories, and ancient drives shaping everything we do. Know thyself completely. But he also showed us something far more important. That awareness is the antidote. That by having the courage to look beneath the surface, to confront what we have buried, to listen to what the unconscious has been trying to tell us all along, we can reclaim our freedom. Where ID was, there ego shall be. The unconscious is not your enemy, it is your unread autobiography. If you made it this far, comment unconscious revealed if Freud's discoveries changed how you see yourself. The wisdom of the ages is yours. Use it well. If this opened your eyes, subscribe for more. The vault has more treasures waiting.